Welcome back to Fast RC, buddy. My name is Ryan. So today's video, we are going to take a look at the Traxxas Mini Slash 4x4, and if you're like me, you're wondering how it stacks up against the Arrma Mojave Grom. So in this video, we're going to do a direct comparison of the Max Mini Slash and the Mojave Grom and see how they stack up against each other. So stick around. I'll see you on the other side of the intro. Alright, so in this video with the Mini Slash 4x4 coming out, there's a few categories I want to talk about with doing a comparison to the Mojave Grom. So those four categories we're going to talk about today are going to be size, motor specs, we're going to talk about price and value of the two different types of Groms plus the Mini Slash, and then we're also going to talk about, who is this vehicle for, and I'll just kind of give you some of my thoughts on this release from Traxxas. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, first up we're going to talk about is size. So when I first saw the Mini Slash was announced today, the first immediate thought was like, oh great, we got like a new competitor for the Mojave Grom, and I was like starting to immediately think like, oh, there might be actually like spec classes for this, and maybe we'll get like, Mini Slashes versus Mojave Grom type classes at your racetracks. But now, honestly, looking at the size and the dimensions of these things, I'm not really sure about that. So looking at the size, the Mini Max is actually a tad bit bigger than the Mojave Grom. So much so that they don't look like scale proportionate to each other. And I don't have a side-by-side picture, but I can give you some of the specs and we can kind of take a look at it. So in general, the length of the Mini Slash is just a hair over 16 inches, while the length on the Mojave Grom is 13 3/10 of an inch. So almost 3 inches difference in length, and then with that length there's a difference in wheelbase about 1.5 inches. So the wheelbase on the Mini Slash is about 9.25 inches, while the wheelbase on the Mojave Grom is sitting at just about, I believe it's about 7 7/7 of an inch. So a little bit of size difference there. Also too, the Mini Slash is a little bit wider and a little bit taller than the Mojave Grom. Especially at the height, with the product height of the Grom being 4.72 inches and the height of the Mini Slash being just a little over 5.5 inches at 5.63. So pretty big size difference there, and they're probably in that same technically scale size difference, but the actual real world size, the Mini Slash, is a tad bit bigger. So I don't know if we'll be seeing race classes of these two vehicles together, since one truck is going to be significantly bigger than the other. But nonetheless, I mean, it's still kind of cool that we're getting a max version of the Slash and the Mini version of it, I guess, if that makes any sense. Anyways, let's go ahead and get on to the next category. Alright, next up we're going to talk about the ESC and motor combos inside of these things. So looking at the Mini Slash, it looks like it actually is coming with 1/10 scale electronics. So you're going to have a 540 can motor with the BL2S system, compared to the Grom, which comes with a 380 motor or brush motor in the lower model range. And then if you step up to the 223S, I believe also that is a 380 brushless motor, but it's a higher KV and it can pack a ton of punch. But albeit though, it is a smaller motor. So in general, talking about like the size of the vehicle, like I did in the previous segment, the electronics on the Mini Slash are just actually bigger in general. And so with bigger electronics usually comes a bigger price, which is something we usually have to deal with, especially this thing having basically 1/10 scale electronics. So it's kind of a give and take. Like, electronics are a little bit more expensive, but they're probably going to hold up a little bit better and last a little bit longer, being that they're for bigger scale models. So just thought I'd put it out there. There actually is a difference in the size of electronics, in particular the motor size, when we're looking at these things. When it comes to speed, so with the Mini Slash having the BL2S system, you can only run it on 2S. And it says on the box like 30 plus miles an hour, around that 30 mile mark. Where if you get the Grom 223S with the 4500 kV brushless motor, from what I've seen on the videos, that thing can do 40 plus and possibly up to 50 miles an hour depending on certain conditions. So a little bit of differences there just to take into account, but that's all I got for the motors. Go ahead and get to the next section. Alright, next up is price and value. So let's get into the nitty gritty here. So the Mini Slash 4x4 is coming in at $289.99, which is a little steep, at least at first glance when you take a look at it, but it does come with a battery and charger, so that's kind of nice to see. But if we do compare that to the Mojave Groms, So if you were to go out and get a Mojave Grom with the battery and charger, and you got the 223S version, that's going to set you back $269.99. So really not too far off, about 20 bucks. So it's not like a huge difference, to be honest. So if you do favor the Mini Slash over the Grom, and you're taking that into consideration, it's really not that big of a price bump. Now, if you're considering the Grom or getting the brushed version of the Grom, now that's like a significant price decrease, so much so it's like over $120, because the Grom, if you go buy the brush version, comes in at $169.99, which is a great price, like a great entry-level price, especially sub 200. But definitely, you know, it's kind of like all over the spectrum, I guess. And you just kind of got to take into account when we're looking at like the value proposition of the Mini Slash. I think one thing that we probably shouldn't ignore when it comes to the price is just that the Mini Slash is just a bigger vehicle. It technically is like mini, you know, in that 12th or 16th scale range, but it's got 1/10 scale electronics. And if you actually take the Mini Slash and compare it to the rest of the Mini Max lineup from Traxxas, being the Mini Max and the Mini XTR, it's not too bad a value. It's actually the cheapest. The Mini Slash is the cheapest of the three, being at $289.99. The Mini Max is at $299.99, and then the Mini XTR is $279.99, I believe. So it's actually the lowest of all three of the models. So kind of going back and forth on the value. It is expensive. But if you're definitely interested in getting in Traxxas, or if you have a lot of Traxxas stuff already, Traxxas batteries, and you want to stay within that ecosystem, I think $289 is not too bad. But if you're kind of getting into the hobby and you're just looking to get one of these smaller basher type trucks with some scale appeal, you might want to look the way of the Grom, since you can get into that platform a lot cheaper at $269.99. Or even if you wanted to go the 223S route, you could still get in cheaper than the Mini Slash. So kind of a give and take. Also too, I'd be remiss not to mention that the price of these mini vehicles, just whether it's the Grom or the Mini Slash or the Mini Max, gosh, is it me, or they're just like pushing like $300 on, you know, regularly? And it kind of cracks me up, because you can get into a 10 scale vehicle for a pretty good deal nowadays. Like they just, like, for example, Traxxas just lowered the price on the Slash 4x4 BL2S version down, I believe, to $330, which is pretty good. Like if you want to get a short course truck, you can go get a 10 scale 4x4 Slash with the BL2S system for $40 more. I mean, $40 more, and it's a significantly bigger vehicle. With the Mini Slash being 16 inches long, where a standard like Slash 4x4 is going to be, I want to say it's like a little over 20, about 19 to 20 inches long. I might have it wrong, but it's significantly bigger. So you kind of got to weigh it out. Like, which way do you go? Do you just go full 10 scale, or do you want to get into the Mini Max like platform? You know, nonetheless, if you stick in that Mini Max platform, it looks like it's going to be pretty robust, and they're built like Mini Max tanks, so they should be pretty reliable. And then of course, parts support is endless. So a lot to consider. I know I kind of went on a little bit, like quite a bit about value, but there's just so many angles to a vehicle release like this, and you know, depending on what you're looking to buy, you just kind of might have to consider all that stuff. Anyways, that's all I got for value and price. Let's go ahead and get to the next segment. All right, so final question: who should get the Mini Max? And I kind of answered it in the last section and didn't even realize it, but I'll say it one more time. Basically, if you are looking to get a mini scale vehicle that is basically built like a tank, should be able to stand up to tons of abuse, although from some of the videos I've seen, the body can be a little bit flimsy. But the chassis itself, that Mini Max chassis, tub chassis that's reinforced with extra webbing so it doesn't snap in half, and the built-up shock systems, the 10 scale electronics, if you're just looking to get a mini scale basher that can take that abuse, I do think the Mini Slash will be a good vehicle to pick up for that kind of stuff. I think it'll be great. You'll probably have a lot of fun with it. And one thing I kind of wonder is your local RC racetracks, if they're going to end up doing a Mini Slash like spec class, which would be, sounds like it'd be like tons of fun. But yeah, if you're in the Traxxas ecosystem, or you're just looking to get like a mini basher that can stand up to abuse, I think you could definitely do well going with the Mini Slash. Now, on the flip side, if it's your first time getting into RC and maybe you want to, spend a little bit less money, you might want to actually go for the Grom instead, since it's got a lower price of entry. And of course, Arrma is also a fantastic brand to get into, especially if it's your first time. So lots of things to consider, but my 2 cents, I think it's really cool. Just in general, if you follow my channel, I love it when we get new releases, especially when you get iterative releases on the same type of platform, which is what this one is, where it's the Mini Slash on the Minimax platform. So it's just another iteration of that Minimax platform. So more parts, more expandability of the platform, all that kind of stuff, to where you can make your modifications to your Minimax platform. You can have it as a Minimax one day and turn it into a Mini Slash the next. So I hope you guys got something out of this video. I kind of did just a really quick overview of the Mini Slash versus the Grom. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you on the next video.